Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I wanted to use Magnezone as a huge core breaker in the Ultra League meta. It has a lot of electric-type offensive pressure, and the defensive steel typing is one of the best ways to shut down a lot of the common Pokemon in the Ultra League meta. I stream my battles basically every day at twitch.tv/ItsAXN. If you want to see my battles live, I stream starting 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. I'd love to see you there. So let's get into the battles and see what this Magnezone team can do. Alright, game number one here, Magnezone in the lead up against the Malamar. This is a decent lead matchup, but it can be a little awkward depending on what decisions they make here. If they want to go for superpower and dip, if they want to go straight foul play to not debuff themselves. So we're going to see what they're going to do. Shield the first charge attack to keep our Magnezone safe and to make it so we can throw wild charges later on. It is just a foul play, so that's not going to do that much damage, but it is going to not lower their attack stat or their defense stat, so a good bait by them. Now a superpower is likely going to be reached. We have shielded twice before they have even shielded once, which means that this wild charge either draws the shield or it's just going to take them out at this point. They're satisfied with the 2 shield to 0 advantage that they have, but in comes a Tentacruel to farm us down, which is not exactly an answer to us, not in the slightest. We have 2 wild charges, and we resist the poison jab damage that they're doing to us right now, which is fantastic because we get these 2 moves off, either almost knock out this Tentacruel or take both shields back and get so much work done already with our Magnezone without even needing to use one of our back 2 Pokemon. They throw a charge move, they kind of have to, they can't farm us down, so the Scald will take out our Magnezone, but we come in Drifblim, and now as long as they're not going to have something hard countering our flying types in the back, we're going to be in a good spot here. It looks like their final Pokemon is that Shadow Feraligatr, which we can CMP with a Brave Bird on the double Hydro Cannon. We survive an Ice Beam, so their best bet is to try to get 2 Hydro Cannons off, but we were quick enough on that swap to CMP this move, knock out this Feraligatr, and once again, as long as this Blizzard Tentacruel, or the Tentacruel rather, does not have Blizzard, if it does, then it's a bit of a bad spot if they end up farming us all the way down and reaching it, but they throw a charge move here just before we get to another charge attack. I don't think they have Blizzard. I think we can reach the Shadow Ball with our Drifblim before they can knock us out. We'll see what they end up doing here. We reach the Shadow Ball here. After just a couple of Astonishes, they top left at the last second. GG's to them. Alright, next game, we have Magnezone up against the Mandibuzz. Fantastic lead matchup this time, but it can be a bit awkward depending on the backline. They safe swap a Shadow Feraligatr into our Electric type. You might be like, wow, that's a terrible decision, but as you can see, these Shadow Claws are adding up, and I have to throw a Wild Charge if I want to guarantee a shield, or if I want to get any sort of damage against this thing. A Mirror Shot Bait Call would be impossible to come back from at this point, so I don't want to do that. I want to guarantee the shield. Wild Charge does end up getting shielded. I come in Moltres to try to absorb the energy at this point because I want to keep my Magnezone around still for that Mandibuzz that's still around in this game. We'll have to see what the opponent is going to have in the back, though, to see if we're going to have more play. They have another Hydro Cannon loaded already. I have to shield my Mandibuzz, go down shields at this point, and this can be a little awkward depending on the final Pokemon. But we do get the full farm down, we have switch advantage, and we have a decent amount of energy on our Moltres as well. I think in Ultra League, an Aerialist will not quite yet knock us out, and Snarls are doing nothing. We resist that Dark type damage, so if I can get 3 charge moves against this Mandibuzz, either get the shield from them or potentially just knock them out, we're still going to be in a good spot because we have Drifblim and we have Magnezone that is going to be against whatever their final Pokemon would be. They end up no shielding once again. I think an Ancient Power barely wouldn't knock them out here, and as long as I survive this move, I can probably get to a Brave Bird to guarantee the knockout against this Mandibuzz. They do end up throwing the ace, but I can knock them out with this Brave Bird if it goes unshielded. Let's see what decision they make. They do let it go. In comes the water and ground type. I was expecting a Gastrodon that seems to be everywhere in the Ultra League meta right now, but no, it's a Swampert, which is a lot more threatening. They have Hydro Cannon, just like Feraligatr. It does a lot of damage. They reach them very quickly, but luckily Drifblim is bulky enough. I can survive 2 of these pretty easily. They're forced to throw a 3rd charge move if they want to knock us out, and especially after this Icy Wind, they're going to do a lot less damage here with their fast food pressure against our Moltres, against our Drifblim. I guess, honestly, the fast food pressure would still do a lot against Magnezone, but let's hope it doesn't come to that. Hydro Cannon will end up landing, but they're not going to be able to get the next one before this next Icy one will come through. Debuff them once again, draw that final shield just in case I need to reach a Mirror Shot against them with our Magnezone, but at this point, I think I can probably just fast move them down with our 2 Flying-type Pokemon. These Astonishes have done so much damage since they no-shielded that Icy Wind as well. We have landed so much damage against them. Sucker Punches will finish off the Swampert and win us that match there. Alright, next game, Magnezone in the lead, up against a Tapu Fini. Fantastic lead matchup, but it can be awkward depending on the backline, and it looks like it's another Electric type that we're seeing here, but this time our opponent using a Shadow Galvantula. That's a crazy pick. First of all, it's a crazy safe swap in this meta, but also just a crazy pick in general. But I respect it at this point, though, since they shielded that move. Our defense is dropped, and they ended up attacking us with probably a lunge here, which is going to lower our attack stats. So our attack and defense have been dropped. Magnezone is looking pretty useless at this point, and I kind of need it still for that Tapu Fini, so I don't know what I'm going to do this game. We're at -4 defense. These Volt Switches are resisted that they're doing against us, but they're still adding up quite quickly. I catch a lunge on our Drifblim because I need to keep some energy and some health on Magnezone for that Tapu Fini later on. They end up swapping out, though, because their Switch Clock is already back up into the Shadow Drapion. I can get an Icy Wind debuff against them, hopefully get them so they can't one-shot me with a Crunch, but this is so awkward because we are attack dropped here. We're Switch Locked into this with the attack drop, which means that now we are not able to two-shot them or farm them down with our Astonishes. This is not looking great. We do survive the Crunch, luckily, and we can stall out the Switch Clock long enough to come in Moltres into the double debuffed Shadow Drapion, but they're going to be able to probably swap out as well, and this is looking very bad at this point. It was a good lead, but their ability to just kind of swap around, make it very awkward for us, especially with that Shadow Galvantula, is making it so it's not looking that great for us this game. Back comes in that Tapu Fini, and unfortunately, in the Ultra League, I don't think I one-shot them with a Brave Bird here, which I think I'd have to do if I want any chance to win this. They throw a charge move, likely going to be in Nature's Madness, but they have a lot of energy left over on that Shadow Drapion. If I can't one-shot this here or farm them down with the Sucker Punches to have energy for the backline, then I don't think there's any way I can win this game. We end up not even one-shotting them with that move, and they Water Gun us all the way down. They take us out. They have too much energy across the board. If I can fast move them down, maybe there's a hope, but no, they just end up sniping us down with the Surf. They still have so much energy on their Drapion. GG's to our opponent. Very well played. Shadow Galvantula is a pick I don't really want to see too often. I guess I'm also a little bit weak to electric type damage, who would have thought. Alright, next lead, a terrible matchup for our Magnezone. This is the Shadow Hippowdon, one of the worst matchups I could really see. These Sand attacks would do so much to our Magnezone if we stayed in, so I instantly swap out to our Moltres, and it looks like they're staying in for a second, so maybe they don't have a hard answer to us right now. They go for a Weather Ball of Rock, which doesn't quite two-shot us, but they reached it so quickly with these Sand attacks. Luckily, though, it doesn't two-shot us, right? Even after this fast move pressure they have against us, so I can no-shield this, build up as much energy as I need, and probably get the shields with our Brave Bird. I don't know if they're going to shield this or not. At this point, they've done a lot of work against our Moltres. Let's see what they're going to do. They end up shielding the attack, and as long as they can't Sand attack us down, I can reach a second Brave Bird and either get a second shield here or get shield and switch advantage. They do end up double shielding. They kind of have to at that point, but this is going to be a little tricky for us. Despite having 2 shields to 0, we are going to have to absorb all of this energy somewhere. And our Drifloon is not going to want to take this damage if it can help it. Weather Ball almost 2 shots us here as well. Luckily, though, I think we can shield once, farm them down, and have energy with our Drifloon against whatever is going to come in the back. We do shield that up, and now we farm down the Hippo all the way. What is going to come in to match our Drifloon? Looks like it's going to be a Malamar, which is a pick that I didn't really want to see. A bit of a core breaker, right, with our Drifloon and our Magnezone. They have Foul Play for us here. They have Superpower for our Magnezone. The only thing we have going for us is our energy lead, and the fact that they don't throw energy just yet. I think, though, that they survive this Icy Wind. They can probably still get energy off against our Drifloon or potentially our Magnezone. They swap out, though, into the Virizion. That's not a counter to Drifloon. I think if there's a chance that we can no-shield or shield this, get the debuff, and then survive the next Leaf Blade, there's a chance we can still win this game with Drifloon just kind of putting in so much work this matchup. It's already neutralized that Hippowdon, it's neutralized this Virizion with this Icy Wind, and we've also got so much damage against that Malamar. We have to keep in mind Malamar has energy, likely a full superpower worth, so if they land that superpower against our Magnezone, it's going to do a lot of damage, but we survive that Leaf Blade, we get the second Icy Wind off right before their next Leaf Blade, and this is going to be able to knock them out and make it so Magnezone can come in, Volt Switch down this Malamar. There's no way we get one shot. We're not even a Shadow Magnezone. We're going to survive this pretty easily. Superpower doesn't knock us out. Magnezone able to barely Volt Switch him down. It had almost no play that game, but Magnezone still closing it out for us. Alright, well, Magnezone into Magnezone, a bit of an awkward mirror matchup here, because obviously you kind of want to lose CMP. It's a weird thing to say, but you do want to lose CMP. If you do, then you throw second, you throw after your opponent has debuffed themselves. We end up winning CMP, which, I mean, is also kind of alright here if you know how to play it. You go for the Wild Charge, they no-shield it, and if I can get the next one off, then I can potentially make their life a little bit uncomfortable, because I've already landed a move, and they're not going to land a move against me unless I end up not letting them, or not using the 2 shields here. And they go for another Volt Switch. I'm going to try to catch the move on our Moltres. I didn't actually mean to catch that. What I wanted to do was get a couple Sucker Punches in, but they do end up throwing the Wild Charge and swapping to their Shadow Gator. The play there, I wanted them to overpower a little bit more with their Magnezone because they were already debuffed. Those Sucker Punches would have added up so much, but in comes this Gator, which means that now Moltres is going to have to deal with this. Down shields and kind of down energy as well, because that Magnezone still has a little bit of energy on it. I go for the Brave Bird, guarantee either the knockout or the shield. We get the knockout. If that Magnezone comes back in, we still have a lot of fast move pressure against it, and I want to make sure that we can take them out before they're able to knock out our Moltres. We catch here, because I know they're right at the mirror shot. I want to guarantee that we keep our Moltres alive, because they don't seem to have a hard answer if they came in with their Feraligatr to that. In the back is going to be a Talonflame. Not exactly the strongest answer here to our Magnezone. I can go for the Wild Charge, guarantee a shield likely. and then come back in Moltres later on. I can also drain energy here. By draining energy with our Drifblim, we get to keep our Moltres alive, make sure we can go for an Ancient Power later, but we can also threaten with a Shadow Ball here if they don't throw all of their energy against us right now. In comes another charge move, likely another fly. It's going to be reached. As long as we don't let a catch happen, we're going to win this game. We just have to do 2 Sucker Punches. Watch for the Incinerate. It does come through, and we have the Ancient Power. This will easily knock out the Talonflame, and we can Sucker Punch down the rest of the team. A little bit of a sloppy game there. I did make a nice catch, but I also swapped in my Moltres into a loaded Magnezone, which is almost a very bad play. Luckily, it still worked out for us. Next game, though, up against a Golisopod, which is a fantastic Pokemon for a whole team to see, but in the back, another Hippo. Why is everyone using Hippo today? I do have my Drifblim that can kind of absorb this damage. Shield up the first move because I know if I can debuff them, these Weather Balls are not going to be able to two-shot us. So if I can get this debuff off before the second move is reached, I'm going to be in a pretty good spot. Icy Wind will likely put them into Astonish downrange. They don't want to let it go, and now they're building up a lot more energy. I think at this point, though, they need 3 charge moves to knock us out. I can no-shield the next 2 attacks. I could get to another Icy Wind here, and because I have a Moltres and a Magnezone, I'm not that scared of Golisopod at this point. We can go for this Icy Wind, survive this Weather Ball, and this Hippo is going to have to go down a lot of resources here if they want to take us out. Icy Wind, will it draw the final shield here from our opponent? Looks like they end up double shielding their Hippo. They're double debuffed as well, so they're not going to be able to do much damage against our Moltres when we no-shield this, farm them down with Sucker Punches, and then throw Brave Birds against everything they have. I'm going to put it all into Moltres at this point. We know that they are not going to want to take a lot of damage with the Golisopod with our Moltres. Our charge moves are going to one-shot them, basically, and whatever their final Pokemon is, I severely doubt it's going to be able to take out Shield Energy Advantage, Moltres, and also a Magnezone. In comes that Golisopod, so yeah, they're a little bit desperate right now. It's likely another ground type. I can throw the Brave Bird, and I can get another Brave Bird off against almost anything in the game at this point, and the backline Pokemon of Hippowdon, fantastic. We could Brave Bird that. They're not going to be able to take us out before we take them out. They realize that. GG's to them. Another Golisopod, okay, crazy stuff. We're going to go and do the same thing we did there, try to do a Volt Switch against them if they stay in, but they end up once again swapping to their Shadow Hippowdon. But I mean, at this point, we're able to do exactly what we did last time, although this time I was a little bit quicker on the swap, which means I don't even have to shield that first one. We saw how much damage they did the first time, so if I no shield here, I don't have to shield at all if I want to get off these 2 Icy Winds before this Hippowdon's going to be able to do basically anything to me. This time they also no shield their Hippo, so this game's playing out a little bit differently than last time. We're able to farm them all the way down, and especially after that debuff, this is not knocking us out, but I think I will be able to reach a Shadow Ball against that Golisopod, which is going to do so much damage if they do come back in with it. This is going to put them into fast move farm down range or potentially ancient power range if I need to throw that with our Moltres later on. They do end up no-shielding, which is fantastic news for us, and now they're almost in the red. What is their backline going to be this game? They throw a charge move. Okay, I think it's going to be a ground type in the back, right? It makes sense at this point. Double ground with Golisopod, but is it going to be the same team? No, it is a different Pokemon, the Shadow Swampert. It has a lot more charge move pressure, a lot less fast move pressure, but I think Moltres should be able to just stay in this matchup. 2 shields farm down. I'm not that worried at this point because I know that Golisopod has nowhere to go. We end up over-farming a little bit, but I know at this point I just want to be able to threaten the Brave Birds. If I go for an Ancient Power and they end up no-shielding, that is going to be a bit of a way to lose this game potentially. Throw the Brave Bird right now. This is going to knock them out or dry the shield. Do they want to call that I'm going to bait Ancient Power? They actually don't. They end up shielding that attack, and now I'm going to have to shield myself, but we have so much energy. We know that Golisopod threw all of theirs, and even my Magnezone can take out the Swampert if I need to at this point, and if they try to catch on Golisopod, it's still not going to end out well for them. I can just Sucker Punch down their Swampert now. There's nothing they can do at this point. Just too much fast move pressure with our Moltres. GG's to our opponent. All right, next matchup here against a Cresselia lead. Full team has so much play into Cresselia. The best thing about this is that if we want to, we can Sucker Punch them down with our Moltres. We can Astonish them down with our Drifblim. The worst thing is that they're staying in here, which means that my backline won't be aligned to this. I take a Future Sight. All right, if it's Future Sight, I'm thinking a lot of the times it's going to be Grass Knot plus Future Sight or Moonblast, so it's likely Grass Knot as the second move. I'm going to try to catch a move on our Moltres if possible. We catch the attack here. This Grass Knot is going to do nothing to us. We are able to farm them down after this as well if they stay in. Or it's a Moonblast and it gets the debuff. This is actually the worst case scenario. Now that Cresselia actually gets a lot of play against us, I'm going to have to shield up a move against this Psychic type Pokemon, and since I'm debuffed, our energy is going to go almost nowhere against whatever they're going to bring in. Luckily, I don't get double debuff with that Moonblast, but that is so ridiculous at this point. We go for the Brave Bird, guarantee either a lot of damage or a shield against this. I love doing this with Moltres, just kind of guaranteeing that you're going to get what you want out of it. They end up throwing the move right before I get the Ancient Power. Smart play, good counting by them. I can come in with our Magnezone, still farm this down, but I know they're going to reach a move after that next Shadow Cloud that they just got through there, which means that I have to throw this X Scissor, or this Mirror Shot, not X Scissor, against them, because if I don't, they'd get that move off, and if they did shield that, I could get both of their shields. In comes the final Pokemon. It's a Poliwrath. We have Drifblim for this. We're going to get their shield with this Wild Charge, or we're not. They're just going to no-shield that. I mean, the game was over, but I mean, now it's over. They don't have any play with a 1 HP Magnezone, or a 1 HP Poliwrath. I'm mixing up all of my names right now. In the lead this time, though, against a Tentacruel fantastic lead, but honestly, a terrible save swap for us to have to deal with. A Primeape. This Pokemon is going to be able to put in so much work against our Drifblim at this point. Rage Fist is not going to quite two-shot us, but since they have the energy lead here, they can reach another Rage Fist, get us so incredibly low, and they pace to move so quickly, I don't know if we can knock them out before they're going to get another attack off. Icy Wind will come through. Hopefully they shield this up, or, I mean, honestly, hopefully they no-shield it and knocks them out. It ends up getting no-shielded, but they survive on 1 HP. This is the end of the world at this point. I'd have to shield if I want switch advantage. I end up no-shielding, hoping that our Moltres up shields should be able to put in work in the backline. We can farm this down with Magnezone. I know I take a lot of fast food pressure there, but I want to get that energy lead. That's not a Pokemon you want to see. Virizion is a massive core breaker here. Even if I had switch advantage, I don't know if Moltres could have taken it out, so GG's to them. That Primeape putting in so much work against us, I guess. Okay, good lead once again against the Drifblim this time. Hopefully we can hold on to it. As I was saying, so many people just kind of building weak to electric-type damage, it seems, today, so I wanted to make sure to take advantage of it, use Magnezone, get this Wild Charge off, and see if they want to shield their Drifblim. I should probably bait more than I do, I guess. It seems like a lot of these people are shielding up my full-on Wild Charges that I'm throwing, but I've had a lot of bad experiences where I go for the baits, and it doesn't pay off. So I'm just going for it today, hoping that I can do my best and get the shields guaranteed. We see the Tentacruel comes in. They did end up debuffing us with that Icy Wind with their Drifblim, which means that now I'm not going to be able to one-shot them or anything, and they end up farming us all the way down before we're able to reach that next Brave Bird, which is not amazing, but if I can chip them down into range where I can Volt Switch them down, we're going to be in a good spot. As long as they don't debuff us here with this Scald, I think that this Volt Switch will be enough to knock them out, get them so they're not going to be able to throw 2 moves against us. Scald does come through. It gets the debuff, which is absolutely terrible right now, which means that now they survived that move. I have to double shield my Magnezone, and I have to see what they have in the backline. It's going to be the Poliwrath. This time, I'm going to go for the bait. I know their whole team. I kind of just have to hope at this point that when I swap in Drifblim, I'm not going to be down energy enough that they can get a Shadow Ball off against us, but they're staying in this matchup, which does surprise me a little bit. I thought when I came in here, they'd instant swap to their Drifblim. They had a bit of energy. They probably could have outpaced me to Shadow Ball if they would have instant swapped, but since they're staying in here and throwing Icy Winds instead, I'm going to build up as much energy as possible, go for the Shadow Ball at the last second, and have as much energy as I can, just in case that Drifblim comes in now. So that Poliwrath did swap out with a lot of energy on it, but we go for the Icy Wind on CMP. I'm going to undercharge this as much as I can, and I want to be able to get a Volt Switch down with our Magnezone. That way I can have energy loaded for that Poliwrath when it comes back in, and I can probably Wild Charge them to guarantee this game. They end up not knocking us out after that debuff. This Wild Charge has been reached. Poliwrath is not going to be able to survive this, and our Magnezone able to take the win this game. GG's to our opponent. That was a very, very close one. All right, next matchup, we're going to see Magnezone up against the Gastrodon. That's not what you want to see. This is terrible. They have a lot of fast food pressure. They resist basically everything I throw against them. I come in Moltres, in comes Weezing, so I don't really know what I can do at this point. We're going to try to go for the Brave Bird, just get a lot of chip damage off. Maybe I can farm them down with Magnezone, or if they no-shield this, which they do, is there ever a chance I can flip switch here? Our Sucker Punches, despite being resisted, are adding up, and if I double shield, I can probably get switch advantage here in this game, which I'm going to try to do. Brutal Swing, bait, that's not great for us. And I did not realize this at the time. I lose CMP to this Pokemon. I did not realize that, but here we are losing CMP to a Gas Cloud with a Top Hat. That's not great. This Ancient Power would have been much better as a Brave Bird into the backline. With that said, though, we did get Switch Advantage against the Gastrodon, so maybe that's helpful. We'll have to see what the backline Pokemon's going to be. In comes that Gastrodon once again. I really wish I had enough energy to Brave Bird them right now, but I don't, so we just have to let our Moltres go down and then see what their third Pokemon is going to be. We do actually reach an Ancient Power here. Imagine if I got that Brave Bird. I'm still thinking about it, man. Now I know my CMPs. Ultra League CMPs are not something I have memorized anywhere near as much as I guess I should. In the back is their own Galarian Moltres. We have our Magnezone for this. If I can get some attack drops against this Pokemon, I think there's a chance we can still win this game. Volt Switch is adding up. I reach these Mirror Shots very quickly. They don't have any charge move pressure against us, but these Sucker Punches are doing so much damage. At this point, I need to neutralize this Moltres as quickly as I can. I need to put them into a range where they're not going to be able to reach a lot of charge moves against our Drifblim, because Drifblim walls Gastrodon, but if I'm low enough, they could probably still knock us out. We do end up getting an attack drop with that second Mirror Shot, and now if I can reach the third Mirror Shot and get a bit of damage against them, put them into Astonish downrange, we might just have this matchup. Mirror Shot has been reached. I'm going to swap in if I can into my Drifblim and then knock them out with Astonishes. Hopefully they don't reach a charge move here. We fast move them down. In comes the Gastrodon, Drifblim able to wall it so hard and go for the Shadow Ball to take the game. GG's to our opponent. I don't know how we won that one, honestly. That was going down 2 shields on Switch. I never like doing that, especially with Magnezone, but I guess it worked out there. And speaking of Magnezone, with a good lead this time, we have Cresselia, which is probably one of the best leads that we can see, but we also don't like when they stay in. I like it when they swap out, because that way I have even better answers to this in the backline. With Magnezone, I don't even two-shot them with Wild Charge, which makes my life a lot more tricky than I'd like it to be. This Wild Charge will come through. Will they end up shielding this, or will they let it go? They do let it go. I'm going to try once again to catch a Grass Knot on Moltres, and once again, it's not working out. They're throwing a charge move anyway, so I'm pretty sure this is going to be a Moonblast once again. Yeah, Moonblast comes through, it does a lot of damage, but this time they instantly answer with their Galarian Moltres. I have an energy lead, but they also have the ability to just go for Ancient Power, whereas I probably need to go for a Brave Bird if I want to knock them out at this point, and they do Ancient Power Rust, but no boost, fortunately. I'm going to go for the Brave Bird, try to get a lot of raw damage off against them. I just want to guarantee shields, right? I have that the Wild Charge still loaded, excuse me, on the Magnezone, so if I can get that Wild Charge off, I would be in a good spot. Or if they just end up no-shielding that and I win CMP with this Ancient Power, I can just take them out. With our Moltres, now we've won Switch advantage. We can get our Drifblim against that Cresselia if we want it, or we can see their final Pokemon is going to be a Talonflame, come in with our Drifblim, and try our best to chip this down. This is a little bit awkward. If this is a Brave Bird, we're going to instantly lose this game if we no-shield it. I shield it up, and that's another way to instantly lose the match if they're running Flame Charge. That's not what I want to see. We have the Icy Wind at least. We can kind of neutralize them so they're not going to be able to boost their attack too much. But because we know they're running Flame Charge, they're probably running Fly as their second move. I can easily survive this, and if I can get another charge move off against them, I'm going to be able to knock them out with a move with our Magnezone. They actually end up swapping back to their Cresselia here, which is a perfect opportunity to debuff this with an Icy Wind, farm them down with Magnezone, and try our best to get as much damage against that Talonflame as possible. I have to throw a charge move here. I don't want to take a Future Sight. I don't want to be put into a range where one Incinerate would knock us out, so I'm going to have to now go for this bait. If I want any chance to win this game, I need them to shield this move. They shield up the Mirror Shot bait. We have the Wild Charge loaded, and now this Talonflame is not going to be able to survive this. We're going to one-shot them here, keeping all 3 of our Pokemon alive, just barely winning that match. All right, next game, another Malamar lead. A lot of Psychic types, I guess, in the lead today, but this is a much harder one than that Cresselia to deal with. We're going to once again stay in the lead here and see how they want to play it out. This time I'm doing something a little bit risky. I'm going to fake the Wild Charge and dip by going instantly for a charge move with a Mirror Shot, and not only that, but we get a debuff with that Mirror Shot. I can survive this move, and I can probably outpace them to a Wild Charge here. This is looking a lot better than that first time I've played this matchup. They catch a move, but that's not a catch. That is a Tentacruel, once again, that comes in to our Magnezone. I can farm this down with Drifblim, and despite the fact that I didn't land that Wild Charge against the Malamar, I'm going to have so much energy coming out of this matchup. They did not reach the Blizzard. I farmed them all the way down. I'm going to have a Shadow Ball loaded for basically anything in the backline. What are they going to come in with now? If they come in Malamar, just Shadow Ball it, try to get as much damage as possible. They see in PS. I guess I could have overfarmed and got a full Astonish for free, but I wasn't really expecting them to do that. Yeah, at this point, I guess Shield try to Astonish down because they no-shielded that Shadow Ball. Debuff their final Pokemon with Icy Wind, and hopefully it's going to be a matchup that I can win. In the back, though, it's a Pokemon I wouldn't really want to Icy Wind, but I'm going to go for the bait anyway. I know that if I land this move, I can probably fast move them down, and if I get this move shielded, then my Moltres can just finish the game off, going for Ancient Powers here, and hopefully winning the matchup still. Since they're debuffed, I know I survive this move very easily. It's just going to be an Ice Beam. It's not going to do that much damage, right? We do survive it quite well, and they get to another charge move, though. This is going to do a lot of damage if it goes unshielded. It would probably knock us out despite being debuffed, so I'm going to have to end up shielding that move there. Go for the Ancient Power now, and I think Moltres should be able to farm down that Malamar before they reach a move. Even if it can't, I still have my Magnezone. I still have my Drifblim. There's no way this Malamar is sweeping us now, and we can Sucker Punch them down, taking the game, just barely winning that matchup. GG's to them. This team was working out so well for me today. I think a lot of people are disrespecting the electric type damage right now in the open Ultra League. I know I have been in the last couple of days, but I think you kind of can't anymore. People are realizing Magnezone is such a strong pick, and I think this was a very fun team to use with it. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching today's video. I stream my battles basically every day at twitch.tv/ItsAXN, so if you want to see this kind of content live, I'd love to see you there. I'm also going to upload a lot more to the channel, so if you want to see more videos like this, please make sure to subscribe. Well, thank you again for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.